Hello, hello. Good afternoon, Mr. Family. How are you?
Good afternoon, Isaac. How you doing?
I'm good. Good afternoon to our listening audience. As you all know, this is hot news and it's an instant information that we're trying to react to close to real time. So share the link if you can, invite others. Let's get this message out there. Um, in our post, we share the topic, which basically said who enforces Supreme Court decisions in Liberia and why it matters. And the case in reference is the case of the Supreme Court's ruling in the Bill of Information filed by Speaker FONATI KOFFA. And we know this issue has gripped the nation for a while. And it's time that, you know, we come to our senses about what's right and do what's right in the best interest of our country. So um, this would be an exchange between Mr. Family and I. If there's somebody out there who's current, knowledgeable, and want to share in, you can call me. Let me see if I can edit this link so people can call me and be able to join or ask me to send them the link. And I will definitely do so because this is about all of us. This is something that all of us should be involved in. And hopefully, collectively, we can realize how important it is when it comes to our country for us to participate. Because if we don't participate, um, other people take up the space, and sometimes misinformation is shared, and people just go out there and do whatever they want to do. Um, yes, let me save this now and show it at the bottom for those who will want to participate. So, George,
Yes, sir.
um, do you want to give like some little historic perspective on this whole thing, or you want us to just delve into the into
Let's
the?
just delve into it. I mean, my position is, for the most part, what it's always been, that we have to follow the ruling of the court. I mean, I don't know what historic perspective there is, but I will follow your lead.
Well, when I say historic, I mean specific to this case, right? With regards to um, the situation with the quote unquote majority bloc separating themselves from the main plenary session of the House under Speaker Kofa's gavel, and how long this stuff has been going on. The situation was taken to court. The court ruled, but utilized words that probably some people did not understand, and the interpretation from my friend, brother, schoolmate, also to the Minister of Justice, that was not, kind of aligned, in my opinion, with what the court was actually saying. And then um, the Mr. Speaker Kofa filed his bill of information to get clarity on it to make sure that the decision was very clear. And at this point
But
now, yeah,
I
go
I
ahead.
have, I have to disagree with you that people didn't understand what the court said,
Well,
because
some of it
even
was
today,
intentional. Well, some of it was
no, no,
intentional, but some
oh,
of it was
hold
not
on.
clear. But go ahead.
The
Let's have that
reason we are
disagreement.
on this, the reason we are on this discussion right now
Uh-huh.
is because even though the court has ruled, we still have the same people saying that Kuhn doesn't have to respect their decision.
But those are two different things. With people pretending that they didn't understand the decision, and the decision of the court was in, legal like verbiage that some people could claim they understood different way, or they could not determine who was ultra virus versus somebody who are doing the right thing. So we at this point now where I believe the court decision is very clear. Now it's about who will enforce the court decision. I think that's where we are.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So I can go first in terms of my perspective on a court's decision and who's supposed to enforce it. Okay. As long as I've known and learned civics, as far as I know, the Supreme Court is the final interpreter of the law and the guardian of our Constitution. So any issue that goes before the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court makes a decision, that decision, if it has any enforcement aspects, has to be enforced by the executive branch. That's where I want us to start from. Who enforces the Supreme Court decisions? And then we can get into the reason why the enforcement of those decisions are necessary and the role the enforcing branch is playing within the context of governance and the three separate but equal branches. So if you have anything different or you want to add something to that about who enforces and you want to add your why, you can go ahead.
I mean, listen, no court has any enforcement capability. No court has any enforcement capability. The way the Constitution is written, the legislature makes the laws, the executive executes the laws, the courts interpret the laws. So when that happens, when the court has interpreted the law, it is still incumbent on the executive to enforce that interpretation.
And I just want to give some constitutional perspective on it, right? Article 65 in our Constitution, which talks about the judicial power of the republic being vested in the Supreme Court and the subordinate courts. I can find the Constitution and try to read the exact clause from the Constitution and say that's chapter 7, the judiciary, article 65. The judicial power of the republic shall be vested in a Supreme Court and such subordinate courts as the legislature may from time to time establish. The courts shall apply both statutory and customary laws in accordance with the standards enacted by the legislature. So judgments of the Supreme Court shall be final and binding and shall not be subject to appeal or review by any other branch of government. And I think that's very, very clear. Nothing in this article shall prohibit administrative consideration of the justiciable matter prior to review by a court of competent jurisdiction. So, folks, we hear it there. The Supreme Court has the authority. This article, Article 65, gives the Supreme Court that final say on any constitutional interpretation or any kind of law. And so if the rulings by the Supreme Court would not be enforced, then that means judicial power is meaningless. That means anybody can do anything. You take them to the highest court, they can tell you you're talking nonsense. Okay? So then how does that relate to our Constitution and the intent of the rule of law? Is a complete violation. So for anybody out there to say the Supreme Court decision should not be enforced or is not valid or is not right, then maybe we haven't done civics enough in our country, or we don't understand what the role of the three branches of government are. So George, you want to weigh in on that? Feel free.
At the end of the day, listen, I believe that the people's refusal to accept the ruling of the court takes us down a very dangerous path.
But qualify the people now, because when you say
anyone who is refusing, I read something by a government official today who said, let the court enforce their rule. Okay, but we're hearing the same thing in America today, where the Trump administration wants to challenge or disobey the ruling of the court, and the Supreme Court is shutting them down.
Well, question.
So at the end of the day, there are all kinds of discussions. Some people say, "Oh, it's time to compromise." Listen, for me, there is a very simple solution to this whole thing. The court has ruled that Mr. KOFFA is the speaker. If 5 people say we will not sit under Mr. KOFFA, we will not recognize him. If 5 people said that, Mr. KOFFA can then take action and say these people have abdicated their duty, their duty, and he can send a letter to the National Election Commission and say these people have decided that they no longer want to be representatives. Hold a new election. If 10 people said that, the same thing can happen. If 40 people said that, the same thing can happen. So I listen to people talk about, he doesn't have a majority. There can be no majority of any sitting without the presence of the legitimate speaker.
Fact, especially if he has not seconded his deputy.
Correct.
Or someone
There
else
can
to
be
run
no
that.
majority. So all we have are people who are refusing to sit under the speaker. Now,
Right.
if we look at the things that Mr. Kuhn did, he docked people's pay. He broke into the office of the speaker to evict him. He took actions that the legitimate speaker should be taking. So if Mr. Kuhn vested himself with the authority of the speaker's office and he took actions that were in line with what the speaker is able to do, why is Mr. KOFFA not able to take those same actions?
Mr. KOFFA should be able to take those actions. But besides that, whatever actions Mr. Kuhn took, I hope they were in line with the House rules. The House has clear rules on the authority of the speaker and the action he can take, or going to plenary to give that authority to
He
him.
suspended people. Okay.
Is within the purview of that
of the speaker,
the leader. So yes,
correct.
Right.
So that Mr. KOFFA is the legitimate speaker. There is no majority block that exists outside of the authority of the speaker.
It never existed for me. But let's go back to the issue of people saying, the Supreme Court can enforce. The executive branch of government is there to be that enforcer. And when, according to Article 53 again, our Constitution, I think, this, like we said, this is a little civics class here, so people can, really understand some of these things, because we tend to push our Constitution aside. Article 53A, the president and the vice president shall, before entering on the execution of the duties of their respective offices, take a solemn oath or affirmation to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the Republic, and faithfully execute the duties of the office. Now, some people say, "Oh, that's not law." Well, it is a law. By essence of the Supreme Court making a decision, that brings that into effect as a law, because the Supreme Court decision are by essence, they are laws of Liberia. They are binding. So nobody can say that's not part of the executive responsibility to execute the law that the Supreme Court imposes. So on the decisions they come to. So for me, it's very, very clear, and I hope it can be clear for others too. Even the legislature themselves, they are supposed, before they take their seat, they do that, basically that same oath of office, where they are supposed to respect the laws and execute the law, implement the laws of the country, defend, uphold, and defend the Constitution and laws of the Republic. So those folks who violate that tenet, yes, the speaker can do whatever he wants within the purview of the rules of the House.
So somebody just asked in the comments, so will the executive beat them to go and sit under KOFFA? Listen, okay, we are trying to have a serious conversation here. Okay, these type of stupid comments. Okay, these type of stupid comments, I don't have time for them. The executive can
ignore the comment.
No, because these people come. No, yeah, but he freedom of speech. He can go speak somewhere else. He don't have to speak here. But here's
No,
my
no, no.
point.
There's a
Okay,
public forum that freedom of speech. If
my
the man
point is
has an
very
opposite
simple. There are a
position,
lot of
that's
things the
okay.
executive can do. There are a lot of things the executive can do to force them. The executive can cut if they don't sit. They can stop paying them. They can stop giving them gas slips. They can take all kinds of actions to put pressure on them. Okay, the idea that you are so ignorant that you would jump to the point and say, oh, the executive would beat them, as if to suggest that there's nothing the executive can do. This is
But
the type of
that's
lawlessness.
George, that's a simplistic Liberian mindset that comes into play in this kind of situation. Oh, what you do, go kill the people? Oh, what you do, go beat them? No,
Yeah, but that's because he doesn't have an answer.
and that's
He
why
doesn't have an answer, and he doesn't have an answer, and he has an agenda. That's the difference. He has an agenda. Anybody who says there's nothing the court can do is because they have an agenda.
Yeah. Okay. So there are a couple of valid, well, I won't say valid, a couple of points people are making. I think we need to share with some of the people who are only listening and I'm looking at the comments, right? This point is very, very valid in my mind because the actions of the Kunto, whether we go all the way back to the budget or whatever that was approved, but many of those actions can be considered illegal. They can be reversed.
The court said that explicitly today. The court said that explicitly today in their ruling.
Yes.
That any action that was taken with Kuhn as speaker are illegal.
It's very illegal. Right. So
they're
then
illegal.
At least we're clear on our part, and thank you for the comment, Wilma. You know, the people are actively participating here. But here's another comment that you know, some people are making. And for me, I don't agree. And Nominee is a smart guy. You know, I usually respect everything he says, or sometimes we into an agreement. But the goal of reconciliation, I think reconciliation should be defined at this point. Not just let things be. No, that's not
okay. So Nominee, let me just say this to you, okay?
Wait, Joe, let me finish because there are clear rules in the house about how these things should go. So reconciliation is probably saying, let's get back to our work. Let's return to status quo and let's do what we can. I mean, I've done wrong. You people have done wrong. You had a case against me. You'll bring it to the table under my gavel and I can execute it. I can go by the house rules to say if the significant majority wants me to be removed, you'll go get the number, the 49 or whatever that's needed to do this. But it can't be a reconciliation and say, you know, where, oh, let your things be, let's just do whatever. No, we got to be very clear because this is precedence and we serve as future information, future landmark situation for anything that happens subsequently. Go ahead, Josh.
Following the rules means exactly that. There is no reconciliation that I believe should take place. And here's why. There is a reason the number to remove an elected official in almost every instance is set at a supermajority, i.e. 2/3.
Yes.
The reasoning behind that is to make it more difficult to remove a person than it is to put them in. Because if we were removing people by simple majority, then it would mean that every time you have a legislative election or a change, then the simple majority can remove the person.
And I made that point exactly before, right? So if some people, you know,
it creates chaos. So at the end of the day, if Mr. Kuhn and his group say they want to remove the speaker, they need the required 49. If they don't have the required 49, that is not a majority under the rules of the House. They will take a vote, and their vote will fail, and Mr. KOFFA will continue to be speaker. They can go back and come. They can go and come back 3 months later and say, "Okay, we got 49 now." But until that, you have the responsibility to conduct the business of the people. If you fail in the rules, you can't say, "Okay, we're not doing any business of the people." Then you know what? Kick them out of the House. Let's hold new elections.
Look, The reality is the executives should implement. Whether Kuhn is discouraged, whether he bouncing grumble or he not bouncing grumble, the fact is the Supreme Court has ruled. The Supreme Court ruling is final, and it's incumbent on the executive to execute that. So whatever it takes to protect Speaker KOFFA, to ensure that he gets to his office, to ensure that he holds whatever necessary sessions, it should happen under the authority of President Joseph Yuma Boyka. President Boyka.
Mr. KOFFA doesn't have to expel anybody. He just writes a letter that says that these people have refused to come to work. They refuse to come to work and their positions are vacant.
But there are rules. If you are representing the people in the House. If you cannot hold your bargain to represent the people and you're absconding or you're not handling your duties and responsibilities to the people, some action will be taken. So yes. So you think that only the executive and the Supreme Court holding the money for the people? No, this is about decisions, folks. Look, we always talk about rule of law.
What does that even mean?
No.
What does that even mean?
Leah friend. Okay. So and somebody making another case, the budget of the Supreme Court is illegal. The entire budget is illegal.
The entire budget is illegal.
Of what they did. But you cannot go back and take money or reverse anything. Now it's about how we do things the right way.
And pass the correct budget, and whatever monies have been dispensed, there are accounting rules that allow them to balance those books. But when it's illegal, so you see, this is where people fail in logic. Because what you're trying to do, when you say also the budget of the Supreme Court is you're trying to play on is a logical fallacy where it's an appeal to emotion. If the budget is illegal, it's illegal. It doesn't exempt anybody from an illegal budget. It doesn't mean that the court will stop operating. It means that they will get together, they will repass the budget, and whatever money has been allotted will be corrected.
And this point is valid too. You know, Mr. Dixon says civics stopped in the 80s. Well, I don't know if the time frame, God knows some people say they did civics in the 90s. The bulk of those in the legislature need to take a civics class and pass before being seated. I think that's for the entire civil servants, all of them, the lawmakers, the people who in the court themselves, they need that. These people are embarrassing the entire nation, not a political party, but an entire nation that is almost 2 centuries old. How are you going to go to ECOWAS, an organization Liberia helped establish to ask for assistance? Liberia and its constitution existed before any modern African nation except for Ethiopia. Complete embarrassment. And I don't disagree. This reflection
but the ECOWAS people came and they told Kuhn and his bloc, this is not how it's done. Okay, let me tell you something, okay? This is my position on Kuhn. Kuhn is a very dangerous person in the Liberian body politic. He has demonstrated that he refuses.
But that's the impunity.
To recognize the rules. He refuses to respect the court. And I'm saying that this type of individual we must give him no quarter in Liberia. None whatsoever. This particular person. He's a very dangerous person.
Again, like I said, this is democracy. That's your opinion. There are also people who will say, oh.
No, it's not my opinion. He refuses to recognize the court. Any elected individual who refuses to recognize the court is a danger to the country.
That violation should be handled by the executive. Kuhn cannot take any action that violates that Supreme Court decision. If he does that, he should be handled by the rule of law. Me, I'm insisting on the application of the rule of law because that's
with Liberia has the reason, the comment the last fellow made. Okay, that's why we are where we are. It's always been, you'll let it be so. You'll let go talk behind the house. No. This man violated, he attempted a coup against the speaker and the coup failed. He must be
who's I think making a valid point. What extra did the Supreme Court say today that they could not have said almost 5 months ago?
I will tell you exactly what extra they said. They said exactly what they said, and the justice minister willfully misinterpreted what they said.
Okay, but were they blind when he did? They were right there.
What do you mean? No. But he already said what they said. It was there's a procedure. That's why KOFFA had to file his bill of information. They're
The
only
Supreme.
out for the president. They're only out for the president right now, Isaac, is for the president to say, I rely on the interpretation of the Ministry of Justice. The court has now said that the interpretation of the Minister of Justice was wrong, and so we're going back. That's his only way out. The court said exactly what they said, and a whole bunch of people like you and myself understood exactly what the court said. I
And
didn't find it as
we
vague.
explain that ad infinitum. We explain
Right.
it.
I didn't find it as vague. The people
No,
who
I didn't
found
think it was
it
vague.
as vague were
People were
willfully
coin,
dishonest.
exactly. People will coin things to suit their situation. And I agree with Nominee. You know, it's time that the president come out and make a formal statement on this. And I think now that the Supreme Court has spoken extremely clearly, it's up to him to say, you know, this is my message. The Supreme Court has spoken.
And he will abide by what the court has said.
Exactly.
He needs
I
to say
believe
that.
that. I mean, I did a post when, let me see how that was back in December, where, you know, I actually called on the president to do just that. And the thing is, a president decision would not always sit well with the people who brought him to power.
But that's what leadership is.
Thank you. He is the head of the country. He is the head of government. So as much as some of his top lieutenants, as much as some of the people who are diehard supporters of him are there, the fact that he is the leader, and from all indication, he is like the top elder in the country. He has to make these hard decisions in the best interest of the country to ensure our democracy is protected.
And at the end of the day, Liberians are followers. All of the only reason these people, Liberians, are followers, they are puppets, they can never chart their own course. They can never chart their own course. If Buckeye comes out today and say the court has spoken, all of these people are going to be quiet.
Oh no, they will say, yeah. That one, that's a fact. And that's part of the not having a mind of their own most of the time, and just, you know, being sycophants some of the time. So, you know, President Boycott, if you were to hear this, or those people who are very close to President Boycott, would really believe that this is a situation for him to handle. It's a situation that he should come out and not procrastinate. This is not one of those things that should be delayed.
No, he needs to come out immediately, because some of his top lieutenants and surrogates are out there making statements that people will accept as his position. He needs to be clear. He also needs to issue something to all his top lieutenants that they need to be quiet. They do not need to speak outside of their portfolio.
And that's part of messaging. That's part of messaging. So back then, this is what I said. Back on December 11, my humble advice to the president/executive mansion, please issue a release requiring all parties to respect the Supreme Court decision. That's when they made the first decision. An opinion writer. Basically, everyone reversed to status quo ante until the majority block and acquire the number. And that's the thing. If you don't have the number to move the man, you cannot move the man. Those are your own rules. Not every decision/action of the president is popular or accepted by his people, but the rule of law must prevail at all times, even when it is more expedient to tread a different path. That's why GMB is the president. He is being paid the big bucks and given the power to make the big decisions and change them as is necessary. Once more information is available. So right now, again, like you say, more information is available. The Supreme Court has clearly gone contrary to what the Minister of Justice had interpreted for the president. So more information is available for him to make this decision and move our country forward. Nobody returning any money they are you. Whatever has been expended has been expended.
Listen, man, the people who are even talking about that, they don't even understand accounting. Okay, if somebody, okay, let me put it to you this way: if somebody's supposed to give you $500 and they give you $300 by mistake, and then you go and correct it and say, oh, you are supposed to give us $500. Are you going to take the $300 from them and then give them $500 back? Or are you just going to correct it and give them an additional $200? Why are
I
you
think
people so simple?
because the solution is simple. Maybe
I
they
mean, these
can
people
get it.
are very, very simple people. And I don't understand it. You can read and write. Where do
Yeah,
you
but you
lose this faculty to think logically?
look, critical thinking is not easy to do. And folks are in the corner. That's part of what we need to change in Liberia in terms of mindset. You don't have to be strapped under an individual or political party or in school in some position that you can
Look,
see what the other people are thinking, or you just refuse to do it. We need to
I
change
have
that
a
mindset.
friend, I have a friend who I respect deeply, who took the position, yeah, let him move KOFFA. The people don't want him. And I told him, I said, listen, you're wrong. And if that's your position, then I don't think you and I align in how we think. 3 days later, he called me. He said, my man, you are right. The people have to follow the rules. Let me just throw this out to people, let them think. So let's say you own a piece of property and water and sewer wants to use a part of your property to do some construction. The law gives them the authority to do what's called eminent domain, and they say they have to compensate you. Suppose water and sewer comes and seizes your property and decides this is how we're going to use it. You go to court, and the court says to water and sewer, no, you can't use his property like that. Is the position, are you willing to accept the position that, oh, the president said, we don't care what the court said, we're taking your property anymore? This is not just about KOFFA.
And it's not just about this one
It's
instance. That's
about
true.
any one of us who have a dispute in court. And if I'm a businessman, I do business in Liberia. Suppose I have a dispute and the government says, and I go to court and the court rules in my favor. Is the government going to say, we don't care what the court says, we're going to do what we want to do? Now, for all the stupid people in the back, all the way in the back.
I keep telling you, stop insulting the people.
Okay, no, I want to talk about the stupid people in the back. For all the people all the way in the back, you know what happens? Anybody coming to do business in Liberia, they're going to say they do not have a court system that is respected. So when you go there, you are at the mercy of the president and whatever he wants to do. You know who you will find coming to Liberia to do business? Only criminals.
And we have had many
Serious
criminals
people will
in
say, no,
recent
we're
times,
not going to take that risk.
especially with our passport, everything. But you know, this what he's saying here is what you said before too, George. What Mr. Williams is saying in terms of people who are functionaries of government or people who have that responsibility, and sometimes when they speak, it sounds like they're speaking on behalf of government, need to be cautious in terms of what they say, because they got anger issues. Slow down, Papa, slow down.
Yeah, you know what? No. I don't have anger issues. I just have a low tolerance for stupidity. Okay,
Yes, yeah, you can
that's all.
perceive it as that.
We've been going too long. We've been doing this too long,
we are
folks.
on a public forum, and there are many other people listening, and we gotta, whether we like it or not, there's diversity of thought. Even sometimes you look at color that is actual color, the color blind man or somebody who wants to say something different with a different color. So we got to be able to accommodate those in these kind of open discussions with with so many people watching and listening. But just to get back to this point, I think the president should put a gag order out there right now and just say none of his functionaries or one of his key people should speak. Let them huddle and understand that the rule of law should prevail, and let the president come out with a statement. This issue is not the end of government. Okay, they can work on ensuring that they can get to the 49, but it takes time to get to that 49, and they were not very intentional about it before. And the fact that they try to operate with impunity just speaks to the fact that we don't respect our own laws, we don't respect our rules. So not to belabor the point, but I think we have sufficiently clarified in my mind what it should be. We have provided some constitutional support for this. So, I mean, if there is more that you want to add, George, feel free to do so. But I think to a large extent, people should understand, where this should be, what the government responsibility should be, and, how we need to honor the court, respect the court. Um, you know, our legislature has been kind of paralyzed with all this stuff that has been going on. Yes, it has been one branch.
And part part of it has also been inflamed by the folks in the Senate. Okay, this is let me tell you how I see this whole thing evolving.
Okay.
All right. These people, everybody is jockeying for a position to be in a place to run for president in 2029.
Everybody want to be president. We got to bring that song back.
Including Nyomri Kanga, the president pro temp of the Senate. Because at the end of the day, they had a responsibility. I think the only person I recall in the Senate, and here's the challenging thing, okay? I mean, there was Edwin Snow, but even McGill, okay? McGill said, no, you people can't do this. Now, when McGill is telling you that you are against the law, Chief, you are against the law. Okay.
No, no, look. So let's start driving towards a conclusion here, right?
Okay.
And it's clear to us, our Constitution, the president as the head of state has the duty, has the obligation, the responsibility to ensure that all court rulings are faithfully executed. Because, like George said, this is a reflection. Right now, we understand the situation with Trump tariffs. We understand the situation with his shrinking of the development pie that comes to us in this, poverty-stricken area of the world because of our own negligence, and we don't realize the rich resources we got and how we can exploit them better for our own people. So things are tight. So we are inviting people to come invest in our country as a replacement. And we cannot have where people feel there is no rule of law. What if somebody's private business case were to escalate to the Supreme Court against somebody who's maybe a speaker or somebody in position, and the Supreme Court rules in their favor and they refuse to do it? Then what? By all indication, the Ministry of Justice, led by the same Attorney General who described or translated that information for the president, they're the legal arm of government responsible for ensuring and enforcing all decisions of the judiciary.
Exactly.
They are responsible. And the Liberian National Police under them is the key element to use to enforce those decisions. So they need to take a reversal on that position and say now they have new information. This stuff is clear. Let's move forward. There is no way in the world where the court decision should be ignored. The court,
but or even misinterpreted. I mean, the Justice Minister himself has to put out a statement that he misinterpreted, because the court has essentially said that. The court said that today. The Justice Minister needs to put out a statement that he misinterpreted or misunderstood the ruling of the court.
And we just got to be honest and clear. The rule of law applies to everybody. It's not limited. Hold on, let's see that. Somebody. Hello? Yeah, we're still on. You trying to join the show? Who's okay? I will text it. I will text the link to you. I will text the link to you to this number, to your WhatsApp number.
Who is this again?
Oh, you just want to speak? Okay, hold on. All right. Okay, speaker, please introduce yourself and make your point.
Yeah, well, I'm Garkan Molan, and thank you for the show. I was listening just through your recent point. While it is true that we must uphold peace and promote peace in our country, we have to understand that the issue before the court is not an ordinary matter. Maybe you can, maybe Isaac, you can name a country where Supreme Court decision was enforced by the executive branch. These are three branches of government, per Constitution. All of them have their own rules and standard operating procedure that they follow. I understand that our brother FONATI KOFFA is trying to fight a removal of the way of the court. Let's say even if the court have rules saying that it was unconstitutional, okay, we all agree with the constitutionality of it, right? Can he gain a quorum today if he go to the House of Representatives? No. He's not a popular. People do not want him. The majority do not want him to be the speaker. So by removing, let's say, what you're preaching for us to remove the current speaker of the Justice Minister to enforce and remove the current speaker, who by the parliament. Now you go remove. Can FONATI, can he win? Will he be able to win the vote what it takes to become a speaker? I don't think he will.
No, he doesn't have to become a speaker.
He doesn't have to become a speaker. So I will be as logical with you.
He is the speaker, Gakon. He is the speaker.
Okay, so let's do this, okay? So Mr. KOFFA is the legitimate speaker.
Okay. The plenary, and then there was a vote that made
it was illegal. It was illegal. The court established that today. The vote was illegal.
The court should have done that a long time ago. If this
the court did.
Illegal, right?
The court did that. The court did that.
No, when the court made, they should have done that a long time ago.
I'm with Gakon that the court should have explained the situation when it got misinterpreted by the Minister of Justice.
Okay, so put it to you this way.
They never did.
Okay. Because the court only speaks when it's requested.
Justice can't say he misinterpreted.
Well,
he did.
Hold on 1 second, George.
The court ruled, and the Minister of Justice gave how he understood the court rule.
But he misinterpreted it.
He misinterpreted it.
In contrast to what he said, a misinterpretation, Gakon.
It's a misinterpretation. What are you saying?
The ruling, his interpretation they don't go over the ruling. They said, it's unconstitutional a long time ago, and then these guys wouldn't have gone right when they
said it was
ultra virus. That's what it meant.
That's what it meant.
No, it can't mean anything. It's very specific.
And the Minister of Justice, as the Minister of Justice, as an officer of the court and a student of the law, understands what ultra virus means.
But ultra-virus could mean that they themselves, because they don't have the constitutional duty to tell them what to do, by them acting could be ultra-virus. It could mean anything.
No, that's not what ultra-virus means.
All right, guys, okay. Thank you for the call. We appreciate it.
Ultra-virus is a Latin phrase that is used in law to describe that an act requires legal authority, but is done without it.
Yes, that was
okay.
Clear.
It's not up for your interpretation of what you think it means. This is what it means. Okay, I'm not looking for your opinion. It means that it was done without legal authority, and if it's done without legal authority, it is illegal. Okay, so what the court should have done, let me say this, okay? Mr. Kuhn can gather 43 people. He can gather 45 people. If it is not under the gavel of the speaker, it is not a majority of anything. It is not. He just got plenty of people and he's making noise.
And look, for people who talking, right? So let me ask you, in the case of, what was it? Brown versus the Board of Education back in the US, and the Supreme Court had them enforce that the students had to go to school. They had to integrate.
And who executed that enforcement?
Exactly, the executive branch.
Executive branch executed that enforcement. So when somebody calls, I mean, the last guy who called, he seemed pretty educated. He spoke good English, but how do you not understand that there is no court in the world that has inherent enforcement authority? The court doesn't have a police. Let me tell you, when the court convicts somebody of a crime, what do they do?
The court guy won't jail them for the lifetime?
They
No.
turn them over to the executive branch. And it is the executive branch that enforces the sentence. It's not the court. Why is this so difficult for you people to understand?
I think even during one of our elections, back in, I think even in 2017 or something, if I'm not mistaken, there was an issue where the court had to jump in on the election. Whatever about the decision or something, I can't fully remember. But the fact is, the executive branch has to execute the court's decision. The court by itself cannot execute, and that's why they say they are
It has no enforcement power.
Decision maker. So we have to respect that position.
What does the word executive mean? It means to execute.
And people
to
can
perform,
talk about,
to take a function.
People can talk about this issue about FONATI peers don't want him. But the rule is clear. You got to be 49 that signed that stuff.
Do not want him, right? He's not running for speaker anymore. He is speaker. If you want to remove him, you need 49 to remove him. And you see what I told you about Cohn? Cohn rejects the Supreme Court ruling.
Please hold on. Let me let the other person who was ahead of you speak. Hello, caller. Yeah, let me get to your call so you can. All right, please introduce yourself and make your point.
All right, so Mr. Tupac, thank you for taking this call. Kima here. Just wanted to briefly say, first of all, awesome conversation. Unfortunately, most of us speak of the three separate branches of government as if we're talking about three separate governments.
True.
We act as if when we say the three separate branches of government, these are three independent entities that operate independent of each other. When in fact, it's just like the same way the eyes are a part of the body. Of course, the eyes are not the nose, but they're all a part of the body: the nose, the mouth, and the eyes. So we have three separate branches of government, but they serve in the pattern of check and balances. So when the check and balances, where that comes in is the Supreme Court, of course, is not going to tell the people's legislature how to operate, but they are there, and constitutionally they're endowed with the responsibility of interpreting the very rules of the people's legislature. So the court is not trying to assert that Richard Cohn and the rest of the folks in the so-called majority bloc have to follow the court's ruling, but the court is saying, based on your own rules, these are the procedures that you should have followed to remove FONATI KOFFA. So since you didn't follow these procedures, go back and do it. But unfortunately, my beloved brothers, I'll say my uncles, we have a bigger problem in Liberia, and it's very massive. And I was yesterday, I go to Liberia every other month.
Wow, that's impressive.
Just comprehension, and unfortunately, this is not a talk down to us. Maybe it's because of the war, but Liberia is in a deeper trouble than what we talk. And by the way, I'm a sedition. I support President Weah, but now the more I look at it as it's a bigger problem. It's not a Joseph Boycott problem anymore. It's not an Ellen Johnson Sirleaf problem. It's not a President George Weah's problem. We have a bigger problem, folks. In our country, if we don't work on our mindset, we're in trouble for a long haul. Because if people can simply not understand the fact that when they say three separate branches of government, we're not talking about three independent governments, but we're talking about three branches of the same government, and they speak of the Supreme Court as if they were speaking about this foreign body. These are sad times for our country, but this stems from just a general mindset of our society. We act very mediocrely. I mean, we're not serious about anything, and it won't be far-fetched to say that we're probably the least relevant country on this God's green earth, simply because of where we put ourselves This is the same Liberia that was just idolized by Ghana, Nigeria, all of these countries just several decades ago. And here we are.
Thank you.
So, I mean, we're in a bigger mess, but I want to thank you guys. And I really don't call on people's shows, but you guys just conducted it in a very awesome way and so friendly and it's more open-minded. And by the way, Mr. Topa, you and I had an altercation before when this guy used to do his thing. I forgot his name now. Yeah, I forgot what the guy's name is. We talked before. We had an interaction before.
But you said altercation. I had to say me and you were fighting. I don't remember.
No. When I say,
yeah, you were fighting. But Isaac, let me say to this guy.
Yeah.
Look at how much time.
What's your name again? What's your name again?
Balakima.
Oh, okay.
Or Dr. Balakima.
Yeah, Dr. Balakima.
I certainly do appreciate the show. It's awesome, but
look at how much time this has taken.
Wait, George, hold on, let him finish. So George wanted to come in and speak and say something to you.
Yeah. Of course, the Supreme Court is not going to take a whip and then whip the people's legislature into acting accordingly. But they've played their part. Now it's up to the executive branch to be to man up and say, listen, the court has spoken. This is the part of our government that's responsible to interpret the rules and the laws of our country. They've spoken. Now it's up to President Joseph Boyka and his crew to actually step up and do the right thing. So if President Boyka does nothing and Richard Cohen decides to go down the rabbit hole that he's going down, then
he just said it. He literally just made that statement.
But the Supreme Court has done their part, and folks, one more time, we're not talking about three separate governments. These are three separate branches, three parts of one government.
Thank you, Dr. Kima, for the civics lessons. We try to expand more. Let some of the other callers come in, but we really appreciate your call. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
So no, but I think what I was saying is, look at how much of the Liberian time has been wasted on this issue.
A lot. More than 6-7 months.
More than 6 or 7 months. And Richard Cohen is saying today.
Hold on 1 second. You got to move away from the sound because of the feedback. All right. So please introduce yourself and make your point. Hi, Victor. Welcome to the show.
I can't hear him.
He was do a discussion. He's speaking as a madman.
I agree with you.
I want to take notice of the dissent opinion that Justice Waisa gave in this whole scenario.
I can't hear him.
Because if
Can you speak louder? Because he says he can't hear you. Yeah, thank you. Well, now he can hear you. Okay, the dissenting opinion from Justice Bisi. Yeah. Okay.
Because he was concerned that if the majority acted constitutionally, then the national budget is unconstitutional.
But that's a fact.
It is.
Yeah. There's no way you can do then. It leads to the fact that even the justices that handed down the ruling acquiescing to an unconstitutional budget by taking their salaries.
But
no,
so
they didn't.
are you saying with the stalemate that was going on, so these individuals or people who have strong opinions about this should not get paid and just let this thing drag on continuously?
Yeah.
No.
No, listen, man. That's a burn down the house. That's a burn down the house theory there. And besides,
no, those are two different things. Don't use that. No, it's not the same. It's
not the same. But here's the bigger issue, Isaac. There was one dissenting opinion. That's why you have 5 justices. You always
Again,
have an odd number of justices. So you are not going to try to make a case by standing on the lone dissenting opinion and say that's
if
the
that
one we should
man could
follow.
not convince his full peers to go
Exactly.
that direction, he has a case, but he's not convincing enough to win. Okay, thank you.
I mean, all these people know better, Isaac. All of them know better. Every last one of them who is calling, they know better.
Okay, we understand your point. Again, like I said, this is democracy. You're entitled to that point. 1 second now, Mr. Logan. You're entitled to that point, but we can't change our positions because you have not convinced us. And then that's why we give. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to. I'm just saying we got to move on with the show. So thank you for your call. We appreciate it.
Moet District, my name is George Fambulet. My name is not George Williams. My opinion is not
But
balanced.
we just said the budget is unconstitutional. What more you want us to say? That does not mean we're going to kill the justices because they took pay. No, they have to take pay. The country has to function. Whether the country is functioning wrong, no, they shouldn't resign. Then
They should resign for what? Man, look, move that man from my phone, man.
Talk later, bro.
How do these people even form a coherent stream of thought?
George, when people hold a position,
look,
sometimes they don't see
Mr. Williams,
side to it.
I mean, Moet District, my opinion is not balanced. You are 100% correct. My opinion sides with the court. Once the court has spoken, that's the opinion that I am with. I'm not here to judge Flower, but right now what I'm looking at in Front Page Africa is Kuhn rejects the Supreme Court ruling.
Okay, but you gotta speak
and
louder.
Declares KOFFA speakership invalid. That is a very dangerous precedent that Mr. Kuhn is taking. And the president needs to slap him down.
Hey. You don't know words that you can use. Look, I know it's not literal, but we have another doctor on it now. It's sure not easy to do. We got Dr. Kima, now we got Dr. Williams. Dr. Williams?
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead and share your point, sir.
Well, for me, and I totally agree with the sentiments in the room with you. I think what's happening now with the posting from Mo Ali and the Minister of Lands and Mines now, I'm hearing that Representative Kuhn has publicly announced that he's not going to cooperate with the Supreme Court ruling. Liberians, we got short memory. So imagine that we can take the Liberian people for granted sometimes, especially our leaders tend to take the Liberian people for granted. We've come from over 14 years of war. We've struggled to get as far as we are, and yet we're rolling back the carpet on the progress we've made. But the onus rests on President Baka.
Yes,
President Baka is the one who wears the boots, except he's telling us that he does not have control of his government. The first thing first is no one in government should be making any form of pronouncement other than the president or his minister of information. No one.
Justice. Thank you.
There should be a moratorium on all calls. Put a hold on all public publicity regarding this matter. The president needs to rein in his executive. He needs to make a public statement. He needs to take control. Control cannot be in the Senate, in the office of the vice president, in the office of the minister of state, and not in the office of the president. This government needs, because we're bordering on national security. As it stands, it is becoming a national security issue. And I will tell you this much, that the president should not take the Liberian people for granted. All of this can blow up in no time. I am not a one for chaos, but we cannot sit by idly and see chaos about the country about to blow up. We've already burned the Capitol. What else are we going to burn? The president needs to act, and he needs to act quickly. I just wanted to make those.
Thank you. Your point is well made. Thank you. We appreciate it.
He just brought up what he just brought up when he mentioned the capital, what I was thinking. Let's look at the whole situation and the avenue that Mr. KOFFA took. Mr. KOFFA went to the court to get resolution for everything. Even after the court has decided, Mr. Kuhn is still saying he will not accept the ruling of the court. My people, it was judging flower in the village. Who you think won the capital? I just asked you that question. Because
Okay,
this case,
so
hold
before
on. This case, Isaac, is the
Mhm.
same as the case where Solomon said to the women, I will cut the baby in half. Kunso, yeah, cut it in half.
because I ain't baby, eh?
That's not his baby. That's exactly what's going on.
Yes. So let me share what Speaker KOFFA had to say after the decision. I don't know if people have listened or not, but I think it will be good for people's ears to hear what Speaker KOFFA had to say. Is it a window? Okay. Yeah, what's up? No, for now, for nothing, yes, that after FONATI finish speaking, I'll let you come on. Oh, you're speaking to the choir. So, all right, later. Folks, we are sorry. It seemed like you guys couldn't hear what Speaker KOFFA was saying, so I guess I'll play it from my phone, and hopefully, I didn't catch the fact that you guys had no volume, but let me play it from my phone so you can hear it. Oh, the people keep calling and interrupting. Y'all, please stop calling. Y'all, please stop calling. I beg you. Just give me 1 minute. Let me play FONATI message.
Almighty God, in genuine respect and love for our country, endowed in a resilient and good people. Today, the Supreme Court of Liberia reaffirmed and upheld the rule of law in what has been termed the legislative impasse. As we have pledged, the ruling of the court will be our last bus stop, and the court has ruled, effectively recognizing that our leadership holds the constitutional mandate of the first branch of government, and we welcome that ruling. We are truly grateful to God, who has given us the strength over the past 6 months to endure the endurable and suffer the insufferable. To my colleagues who have stood up for the rule of law at great peril to their political and financial lives, my sincere salute. Societies become great, rise up to do extraordinary things. Today you walk into history with the wind at your back and the thanks of a grateful nation. To the hundreds of thousands of Liberians here and around the world who on bended knees prayed with us, texted a word of encouragement, held us up lest we fall, and believed in us, we are truly grateful. Without you, this advancement in our democracy would not have been possible. We will always remember, always be proud, and we will always be your servants. To our colleagues on the other side, we identify with your just grievances and call on you to join us and end the stalemate at Capitol Hill. Come, let us reason together. In the words of President John F. Kennedy, remembering on both sides that civility is not a sign of weakness and sincerity is always subject to proof. Let us not negotiate out of fear, but let us not fear to negotiate. I will reach out to Deputy Speaker Thomas Fala and Honorable Richard Kuhn so that we establish a joint reconciliation and transitional committee. I am not unmindful that reconciliation and progress may require that I make the ultimate sacrifice, and I am not unwilling to pay that price. But please let us show this nation how democracies are built. May the Almighty God bless the works of our hands and save the Republic.
Well, that was Speaker KOFFA. I think he was very clear in what he said, and I think if I can even extend or try to extrapolate what he's saying, he's looking for reconciliation, you know, and that's what I'm seeing. Reconciliation has to be defined. And he has said before, and I could be wrong, but I believe he said before, he was willing to subject himself to the process. So let's follow the process. Let the folks go under his gavel and deal with the situation, and hopefully we can come to some kind of conclusion on this thing and move our country forward, because it's very unhealthy for us as Liberians to be going through this, where we cannot respect our courts, where people are having problems. So somebody text me or comment, I will share the comment. The Supreme Court has a lot of power to enforce its ruling. The president has immunity, but the justice minister doesn't. Therefore, that minister is subject to disbarment if he refuses to enforce the ruling of the court. After his misrepresentation to the Senate, it will be in his best interest to do so. Every other enforcement entity is also subject to contempt from the court. Additionally, I got to find the other piece of this. Additionally, the administration has a few cases before the court. This could prove disastrous for them if enforcement is not done. So no, but that part now, it sounds like you want the court to be vindictive, and because they have court from this cases from this government, so if it's not enforced, no. I don't know if the court is thinking along that line, but on a real note, you know, I think the positions have been clear. This is something that the government should take a serious look at and do its best to inform the Liberian people about what their position is as far as possible, so that all these different individuals who are speaking out in kind of in an insolent manner towards the court or in disrespect of the court's decision and may influence their supporters and followers, I think it makes sense for them to really come to the table and be able to hash this thing out. I'm glad, you know, Speaker KOFFA was kind of reconciliatory. He was not bitter in his, you know, delivery, and he wants the best for the country based on what he's saying. And you know, it just really, really, like somebody is saying, it's a sad day. It's a sad day when the lawmakers, the people who make the law in our country, are basically telling the court that they don't respect the court. So let me add this other individual who wants to join the call. Let him give his own opinion. I think it's the same person Desmond Finley.
Hello?
Yes, Desmond,
How you doing today?
I'm good. You are on. Please make your point.
Yeah, thank you guys, man. I'm just sad to hear that the people that are making laws are saying we are rejecting the court ruling. Do they expect me to go sue Ava in a court of law for a piece of land and the court make a ruling and I should expect an outcome when I expect Ava know people who Ava knows? Like this is they think that the ramifications beyond this rejection at least. FONATI is making I've never been a supporter of FONATI. He's making the best thing we can make a deal, even within the ruling. Right? And these guys are saying no, we reject it. All right. Amor Ali is making a comment talking about the cocaine enforced. Like, if you don't have a rule of law, who want to invest in Liberia with their money? Why can I bring my little $500 get my bank account? See, let me go put it in business with a market picking. I don't understand ramifications behind this. It's so sad to hear it. And I'll get off and watch the show. But it's very, very appalling. If they understand the ramifications and just step out. Like, I never supported FONATI because it's criminal charges in America. But how can a criminal, the guy that think of it of a crime, now have the best side of the argument? I don't understand it. I'll raise my case.
Thank you. We appreciate that. So yes, so there's some sadness and disappointment from people with how the decision is, and then I'm thinking right now, because I believe I read somewhere today where the speaker has a case in court or he has been sued. So when another decision comes and is against him, then you act with impunity too. I mean, I really don't understand the mindset here, though. Yes, hello, caller.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, please introduce yourself and then make your point.
This is Cyrus Joel McGee. I'm calling you from the Twin Cities of Minnesota.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good being on here with you. And this is a day that Liberia long waited for, to see our Supreme Court clearly spelling out what it meant when they had a ruling in the leadership saga of the legislature. And without, fear, they were able to tell those on the other side, those majority, quote unquote, that whatever they were doing is unconstitutional. And I'm happy that Speaker KOFFA, unlike other people who were forced into a corner and resigned, decided that this time around it's not going to happen this way. There should be a precedent. About this day will go down into history. That there was a precedent set. If you want to remove a speaker, what should be done the right way. And I'm also happy that even in the midst of this, after going through the humiliation he went through, his office being busted into, a whole lot of things went on, Capitol building going into flames, he's still willing to sit at the table and say, how can we resolve this? This is a leader that Liberia will cherish, trust me. I see the rejection coming from Mr. Kuhn and his block. It's a shame on their part, Ava. These people should look at this, bury their pride, and put Liberia first. If our lawmakers can openly say that we will not listen to the Supreme Court, the final arbiter of justice in our country, what do you expect the motorcyclists who have been stopped from flying the street of Monrovia to do? In case they say we cannot listen to the police, we cannot do this, we must get into the street and ride what we're supposed to. Because they will be copying from the people they call their legislators. If our President Barker Isaac, today you will force your justice minister to tender in his resignation. I will not be surprised if he comes up with another clarification of the Supreme Court's ruling. That will be a slap in the face of the president and his legal team and his advisors. President Barker should be able to take leadership. The court's ruling are out there. Run with it and let this thing come to an end. Let Richard Kuhn and his group sit with KOFFA. From all indication, it's clear that Mr. KOFFA don't want the seat anymore. But how can we? Is he here talking about transition?
Right. He is very clear. And he said
the
it
word
before.
transition, yeah, the word transition in there is a clarity that, yes, let's just do it the right way. But I think they are afraid that KOFFA Black held together for a long time. So anything that should be done the right way now will go against them. But yet and still, you cannot keep the country hostage.
No,
Let's see if Mr. President will continue to do business with the quote-unquote majority Black. Let's see if the Senate, with this clarity, will also endorse what they're doing in that their majority Black sitting. This is a day that I've been waiting for, and we pray that this thing will come to an end and our country will get back on this path of peace and reconciliation. Thank you so kindly, Isaac.
Thank you. So yes, the country needs to move forward. The country has to move forward. And if some, dissident lawmakers will not represent the people, will not come to sessions on Speaker KOFFA gavel, there are rules. There are rules that can be applied. Or then the country will just be held in continuous hostage. And we need to move away from that. Sound minds need to come together and probably reach out to the president himself on this issue, that he has to respect the Supreme Court. It will be a slippery slope that he'll be going down if the Supreme Court is not respected. And this person posed, they said, now the future of Liberia lies in Boyka's hands. He must decide to either continue to keep cool as the so-called speaker and watch the country sink further, or restore order by upholding the Constitution and respecting the Supreme Court's ruling. From everything I know of President Boyka, I believe he respects the Supreme Court. I don't see how he disrespects the Supreme Court, ignore the ruling, and go one way. And again, the president, I believe, always has an out, because he should know if the executive fails to act, that's a constitutional crisis right there, right? It weakens the whole tenet of separation of power. How can anybody respect the Supreme Court? Anybody can take action. If Kun stay in power, he court case, if the Supreme Court rule, let's say they keep appealing until it gets to the Supreme Court, he can say he won't listen to the Supreme Court. So then what happens in that case? And that kind of breakdown, that kind of weakening of separation of power can cause public disorder, can cause institutional breakdown. And already we have seen some loss of public trust in general towards our government, towards the legislators. Even some on the other side have a lack of trust in the Supreme Court itself. So we need to strengthen that. The government needs to show that the three branches are separate, they are equal, but they are also working in coordination for a better Liberia. So I really believe the legislators there, whether individually or collectively, they should respect the decision of the Supreme Court, go on the gavel of Speaker KOFFA, listen to what he said today. Listen to what he said today. Respect the ruling and see how they can work together. This country, we have people who are easily influenced. Unfortunately, we had a breakdown in our educational system. We have a breakdown in the teachings of the sound teaching, the subject matter that people are supposed to learn. They learn it superficially. Many of those who taught over the last 12, 13 years, they were just speaking orally and teaching. Many of our young people who were in school didn't even read books. They didn't even read other reference material. They probably got to university. And that's a handicap. And somebody mentioned it earlier. We have a very vulnerable population from an intellectual perspective. Critical thinking is lacking in a lot of areas. So we need to find a way to ensure that this particular situation can be an example for our country to follow. It can be a foundation on which we can build this whole democracy that we're talking about. Let people understand what rule of law means. This has practical application. The people who have the system like the ELBC and other people, they need to be able to break this down in simple English for our people to understand it. For our people, they need to get the vernacular, let them understand the rule of law. They have the power to do that. They are basically all across the entire country. So they need to put this information together. You know, this civic responsibility, citizenship is not for one person, it's not for few people. If we don't have rule of law in our country, we really don't have anything. We need a rule of law for us to operate properly, for us to attract other people to be involved in our country, to come and invest and be a part of what we do. So this is just a special request out to our leaders, to be our leaders, to be able to understand that over the last few months we have gone in the wrong direction. Let's course correct and do the right thing. Let's be able to hey, Mr. Dixon, living small. Let's be able to do the right thing. Let's be able to admit that the Supreme Court, even if you don't want to say you're wrong, just say the Supreme Court is the final arbiter. They have the final decision. They have the final ruling, and it's binding of all of us. Therefore, we have to respond, to their ruling. So the whole issue of, whether is, I mean, how they comment. The whole issue of whether is, hit people in one, hit peers in one him, but that's not how the legislature works. No, it's not just about some people not wanting. It's about 49 persons, that significant majority not wanting you. Okay, so let's make sure we live by the democratic principles that we are supposed to be espousing. So I don't think we have any more callers. I don't think George is coming back on, but this is something that will continue. We'll continue to have these conversations around civics, around governance, around this particular situation. We appreciate those who took the time to, to listen to us. Share the link to other people, let them understand. We appreciate the callers, the people who took the time to call, to really elaborate, to share the point, whether you were pro, whether you were con. It's important that we have that platform where we can intellectually engage. We don't have to force anybody to agree, and the audience can decide to extract from these kind of conversations what they think is the best path to go based on what they hear, based on the reading of the Constitution, based on the different references. Somebody was asking, I believe, about, instances in the world where the court undid decision by the House of Representatives. There are many instances, where courts in democratic countries, their decisions have been overturned. I mean, where the House of Representatives decisions have been overturned by the court, or even Parliament for that matter, the entire legislature. So it's not strange. For example, in 1969, the U.S. House of Representatives voted to exclude Adam Clayton Powell Jr., a duly elected congressman, due to an allegation of misconduct. The Supreme Court came and ruled that they could not exclude the member who met that, and the action was struck down. In India, the same thing happened with Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narine. In Kenya, the High Court ruling on election, Uhuru Kenyatta, that the process was unconstitutional. He had reset elections. So it has happened all over the place where things have happened and the Supreme Court has ruled. So let's not take Liberia like an exception that these things cannot happen, or the democratic instances that have happened in other countries where the Supreme Court final decision was taken as the binding decision can happen. So thank you for listening. We appreciate you, and we look forward to our next engagement with you. Thank you, and have a good day.